Is it surprising to you that Russian operatives would try to manipulate evidence and information given by Mueller in part of a case to try to screw with the probe?
No.
Do you believe that they tried to interfere in the election?
Yes.
Do you believe the intel chiefs?
Yes.
Why can't the president answer that question that
Well,
quickly?
listen, I don't know, and he and I've had conversations about this over the course of time. I don't know the new head of the CIA, Ms. Haspel, but I do personally know Senator Coates, and I know Chris Wray very well. And these are serious people who have
put there by the president.
All put there by the president, and I recommended Chris Wray to the president for FBI director after Jim Comey was fired. These are serious people who deserve to be listened to. Now, listen, are they right 100% of the time? Of course not. No one is right 100% of the time. But I will tell you that I believe when there's such a consensus among the intelligence community about certain facts, that you need to give some deference to those facts unless there is startling evidence to contradict it. I haven't seen any evidence contradicting it at this point.
Do you think with the president's about him knowing better, that he has some sources we don't know about? That leads him to say, oh, I know why they think that, but this guy I have on the inside, I know better because I know where they get their information. He doesn't have that level of sophistication.
Well, I've never heard him say that. And so I think if it was that, he would say it knowing him. The president says what's on his mind. And so I don't think that's the case. I think that unfortunately, because of all the things that happened in the run-up to the election and in the aftermath, the president had a gut distrust of the intelligence community. And one of the things I told him was that, you've got to let go of that. And if you can't, then you've got to replace all the people that are there and bring new people in. He's now done that, yeah. And yet it doesn't seem to be changing it, which is a concern for him. Because if you're the president of the United States, there's going to be a moment, and probably a number of moments, where you're going to have to rely on those intelligence chiefs to be able to direct you. And if you don't trust them, that becomes impossible to do.
Do you understand why the people who worked in those positions in the past call on a day like today and say, I have to tell you, this tweet is not just some BS thing to dismiss of more Trump talk. This kind of thing is a threat to us. Not that he's going to do something even more absurd, but that it sends messages. It sends messages to allies. It hurts our confidence with other people. This hurts us.
Listen, on that part, Chris, I think they overreact because I think the world has adjusted to the Twitter feed of the president. I think in the beginning, the world reacted like they would normally react to a presidential statement. I think they now understand the president uses this for a variety of reasons, some politically rhetorical, some defensive, some offensive. But to say that like everything that he says there turns out to be a threat, I think people have decided that they're going to wait to see his actions and see if his actions are married to the words. So on that point, I think they overreact a little. I understand. Listen, they don't like him. And I know why they don't like him, because he's attacked them. And he doesn't like them because he believes they weren't honest brokers in the pre-election period.
But they're all his people now, Chris.
Well, now I'm talking about the folks that you said who were calling in. His people now, that's a different story. But I think his people are conditioned now to these type of things. I can tell you this much. I haven't spoken to my friend Chris Wray, but I know him, and I've known him now for 15 years. None of that stuff's going to bother him. He's going to say to the people of the FBI, I'm your leader. I'm going to stand up for what's right for the FBI. I'm going to defend the institution. Do your work. Let me handle the rest of it.
He just doesn't expect to have to defend it from the president. Usually it's from like outside opponents or someone like me.
That's true. But if you watched Chris during those hearings, he's unflappable.
Yeah, he's
a pro.
Fine. It's just a weird adversary.
It is different.
So let me ask you this. Here's the big question. If there is no crime, if there is nothing to hide, why do so many around, and including the president, lie about Russia-related things?
Well, listen, on the president, I can't answer that directly.
You must.
I can't. Let me first answer the people around him.
How do you not know?
Hold on. Well, because I don't know everything. I'd like to believe I know everything, but I don't. This is what I can say about the people around him who have been charged and some convicted or pled. I learned when I was a prosecutor that bad people and stupid people lie all the time for no explicable reason, right?
You think that there are bad and stupid people around the president?
Oh, there have been. I mean, Paul Manafort, bad guy. Michael Flynn, I've already said, bad guy. George Papadopoulos, bad guy. So you start going through the list of folks. Rick Gates, bad guy. I mean, so there's no debating that any longer.
Other than
they're criminals.
Papadopoulos, all picked, including Roger Stone, by the president. And you say bad or stupid. Look, I am all about respecting the presidency, no matter how much heat I get for that because of what the man in the office does on a daily basis. But what category does he fall under? Because he has lied gratuitously about these things.
Listen, I understand, and I understand the argument that goes on perpetually between the White House and certain aspects of the media and whatever. I don't think, while I understand why it happens, I don't think that's useful. I think in the end, I want to look at the president and the president's actions. And when you look at his actions, they're not nearly as drastic as his words. And that goes in concert with the person that I know. And he's a salesman. He's been a salesman his whole life. And he uses overblown rhetoric at times to make a sale or to defend something that he's doing. I always, in the years I've known Donald Trump, I listen to his words, but I pay attention to his actions.
I'll take that on policy. But when it comes to, you have anything to do with Russia and any kind of business? No. You're lying. That's a problem. Trump Tower, do you know anything about this meeting? No, I didn't know anything. Did you have anything to do with the state? No, I had nothing to do with it. Yes, you did. You're lying. Why? That's the kind of thing that matters. When you were governor, if we couldn't take your word about what you were saying about things that mattered, that's part of your job. It's part of your trust.
Listen,
this is a big part of his job. Presidents don't do that much. They say a lot.
There's no question. I don't know if I agree with that last part, but let's skip over it. There's no question that your veracity, that your integrity is an important part of leadership. There's no doubt about that. Now, there's a large sector of this country, not a majority, but a plurality, that believes the president and supports him and trusts him. His
Maybe
challenge, well, like a plurality, I'd say. Now, his
judgment,
way
of saying a third.
His judgment now is going to have to go into play in this next 2 years to decide whether he's satisfied with just that measure of the electorate, or whether he wants to try to win those other people over. I told him when he won the election, I said, listen, you didn't win the election. Hillary Clinton lost it. And because she's a bad candidate, in my opinion. And I said, so that doesn't matter. When I won for governor in 2009, I didn't win. John Corzine lost. The people rejected John Corzine. And I was the seemingly reasonable alternative standing there. And I got 48% of the vote. I said, the next 4 years are going to be about you. And that next election is going to be about you. So build in these next 4 years to do what I did, which is get from 48% to 61% in a blue state. He has to do that now. And he's got 2 years left to do it. And he's got to decide, what do I need to do to get there?
So you said before we went to the break, you've got to separate what the president says from what he does more than with most politicians.
Yep.
Okay, may not like it, but let's accept it. Who is giving him good advice? We ask this all the time. How did they let him tweet this? Why would they let him say this? Why would they let him recently with the Putin stuff?
Right.
Who lets him take the interpreter's notes? Who lets him go with this guy alone? Who lets him say that in Helsinki? What's the answer?
I'd divide into two ways, Chris. Two different approaches. I've known Donald Trump for 17 years. The idea of letting him do something is just something that is maybe works with other politicians, even worked with someone with a strong personality like me. It doesn't work with him. In fact, when you try to force him to do something or not do something, he almost reflexively does the opposite. So the idea of who lets him do these things, I've said to people plenty of times, he's 72 years old. He's simply not changing who he is.
But everybody, even you, strong guy, my brother, strong guy. You have people around you who, when they say, Gov, not only are you wrong, but this is going to be a step in a hole that you're not going to climb out
That's
fast.
Right.
You stop.
We do.
You think. You get angry. You walk away. You come back. You're like, so then what do we do? That never seems to happen.
Now, sometimes it does. For instance, you saw what he said on Syria. And then obviously John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and others got to him, and now he's walked that back a bit. Same thing on Afghanistan. He's walked it back a bit. There is evidence of him doing that at times, Chris, and I think that he does do it at times on issues that I think are vitally important in our national security. But let me get to who gives him good advice and who doesn't, right? Because that is important. Because I believe in the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. And in the beginning, he had a group of people around him like Steve Bannon, like Rick Dearborn, like Omarosa. I mean, what the hell was somebody like Omarosa ever doing in the White House, right?
Only the best. We're going to have the best.
That's right. And we didn't. And we didn't because Jared Kushner, Rick Dearborn, and Steve Bannon decided that it was more important for them to have control than it was for the president to get a well-prepared transition.
But what did they know? Like, who among them has ever done anything impressive in governmental life?
None of them. And that's what I said to the president-elect at the time.